it's time. When are we starting?
Why are these?
Oh, Hinamato.
Why are these all down?
Because nothing's on except our labs. That's it.
But my lab normally shows up here.
Oh. It doesn't matter because your monitor's way up there. So, yeah.
Okay.
Huh? Oh, no, we're using
we're
labs.
using our labs.
And just, hopefully, my lab will pick up enough accordion that we won't need anything else. Otherwise, it'll probably overlap. Okay? Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm. We're starting.
Hinamato.
Yeah.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to everyone who's here, to everyone who's out there streaming with us. Turn to your neighbors. Make sure you've wished each other Shabbat Shalom. It won't take long tonight. That's okay. It is an Ask the Rabbi night. I have 3 pre-sent in questions, but if anybody here has one, I will certainly give you a chance. And we will begin on page 6. And I feel like there's all these Shehachianu moments, because this is our first time leading together at the Torah table ever. Ever. Yeah. Okay. Page 6. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We turn to the bottom of page 11 as we sing Ki Eshmerah Shabbat.
Ki Eshmerah Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Ki Eshmerah Shabbat, El Yishmereini. Oti leomeod, beino beini. Oti
to pages 20 and 21 as we welcome in the Shabbat Kala singing Lecha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. When we come to the last verse, we'll rise and face the open doors, or at home, you can rise and face any door so we can welcome in the Shabbat bride.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi anu el hameyochad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shnei mutim lahad v'litilam. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Likrat Shabbat lechov nelcha, Ki mekor habaracha, Berosh mikadam nisucha, Tomase b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla.
Verse 5.
Hitoreri, ki va'oreku mihori, ori, shiadaberi, kavod Adonai alayik nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla.
We rise. Verse 9.
Roi v'shalom ateret hala, Gam b'simcha ufsahola, Toch emonei am segula, Boi chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabla.
Page 26.
Yikada Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamad Yivarach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutei.
Becha
Yechon v'yom echon, U'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala v'zman karim v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach, Le'olam olam me'amaya.
Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'bar v'troma v'naseh v'yitadar v'yitalal Shemei dekodesha b'richu le'elam kobrachata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiron b'yamah yimeru. Amen.
We rise.
Lai, 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 mevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai.
Page 30. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvuna mishanei itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or Uma'avir yom umevi laila. Umavdil ben yom uvein laila. Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai. Hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amchavta Torah mitzvot tukim mishpatim otanu lemadeta Akein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu v'fchomeinu nasiach b'chokecha v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch u'baruch shemo.
Ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miotecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech v'shofecha uv'komecha וקשרתם להות הידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Yalla lie 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 yalla lie 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 yalla lie 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 yalla lie 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 yalla lie 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 yalla lie lie yalla lie 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nadar b'kodesh nora tehilot Osefele, Osefele, Malchut harav alecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Malchut harav alecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Lili, Anovia. Leolam, leolam, ba'et. Yalla lie, 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 yalla lie, lie, lie. Yalla lie, 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 lie. Yalla lie, 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 yalla lie, lie, lie. Lie, 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 yalla lie, lie, lie. V'namar kivadai et Yaakov. Go'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ka'ol Yisrael. Yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie lie lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie 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 lie, yalla lie lie lie, lie lie lie, yalla lie lie lie. Amen, amen. Turn to page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Oop, took it off too soon.
That can't be good for your back.
Huh? I think it's in the Talmud.
Oh, okay.
A rabbi should be careful not to remove their accordion too soon.
Oh, I saw that one time.
You saw that,
definitely.
right? Yeah. Page 44, Vishamru.
V'shamaru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. Page
We rise for tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Belohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Manorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevii Geolah Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Yezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei Metim atah Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem. Mechapel Chayim bechesed, Mechayei Metim berachamim rabim, Zomek noflim v'rofei cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha b'gevurot, U'midom melach, Melech me'mit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanata l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ha'metim. Atah kadosh u'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. And may all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu v'rashamo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Ritzei, Ritzei, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, Yamacha Yisrael, U'tefilatam, Be'ahava tekabel, U'tehil ratzon tamid, U'tehil ratzon tamid, Avodat Yisrael Amecha, El Karov Lecho Korav, El Karov Lecho Korav, B'nei El Avadecha V'chaneinu, Shefoch Ruchacha Aleinu, V'techezen Eineinu, B'shuvacha L'Tzion B'rachamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamachazir Shechinato, L'Tzion, Hamachazir Shechinato, L'Tzion.
Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu baruch shemo.
Atov Shimcha v'chanaan lehodot.
Amen. We continue with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace, on page 60.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon, lecho hashalom. Ki ata melech adon, lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. V'tov v'einecha levarech et amacha Yisrael. B'chol heit u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael amacha, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu baruch shemo.
Amevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
Amen. We take a few moments now to pray or meditate in silence. Yishaberach is on page 253.
Yishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Yishmerach avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. We ask God's blessing upon those we love who are in need of healing. If anyone here or at home has the name of a loved one for whom our healing prayer might bring comfort, please say that name aloud now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem Lahachalimam Ulerapotam Ulahachazikam Vayishlach Lehem Mehera Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Urefuat HaGuf Hashta Be'agala Uvizman Kariv V'nomar Amen.
Misheberach imotenu Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Page 261. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetichadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba letova ve'livracha. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Nisan Yehiyeh B'Yom Shabbat Haba. The new month of Nisan will begin next Shabbat. And when Nisan comes, not Marbei Chametz, but what's the opposite? I don't know. Okay. Huh? Yeah. All right. Less chametz. Use up your chametz in the next 3 weeks because it's coming. Huh? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I should have thought of that before I opened my mouth. Anyway. So, it is an Ask the Rabbi night. We have a few questions sent in. One I may reserve. And yes, Karen?
I have an Ask the Cantor.
Oh, an Ask the Cantor. Very good. So it's an Ask the Clergy night.
Is this the first time you've ever been this close to an accordion?
The question was, is this the first time the Cantor's ever been this close to an accordion?
Probably.
Probably. All right.
Except for when we had that 1 week where we were allowed to lead services together for the tefillah
That's true.
last year on Zoom.
She's not scared. She's brave.
I love
She can handle it. Okay. So, our first question comes from Shay Eckler of Temple Heart Zion. She asks, why do we lift our heels 3 times when we say, she wrote it the Ashkenazic way, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. You know it as Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And the answer is this. Though that quote, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch ha'aretz kavodo, comes from Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, chapter 6. It is the call, Isaiah's call to be a prophet. Do not ask me why Isaiah's call to be a prophet comes in chapter 6 and not chapter 1, because I don't know. I do sort of know. The book's a compilation, and somebody just put it out of order. But in that call, Isaiah has a vision of God on a throne, with little seraphim and cherubim floating around God and singing to God, praises to God. And what they are singing is, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And so, when we added that to the liturgy, it became our custom to go up on our toes as if we're trying to see what Isaiah was trying to see. So one for each Kadosh. And if you can imagine, maybe it gives some more kavanah, trying to get a glimpse of God, just like Isaiah did. So that's where that comes from. That's a good question, Shay. This next question comes from Larry Gom of Temple Heart Zion. He asks, based on the Jewish tradition of tzedakah, should one give a donation and then boast about his or her deeds and the amount given? or give freely from the heart and remain silent. Okay, which reminds me of the joke about the Jewish spaceship. See, I had time to prep these, right? The first Jewish spaceship was financed by generous donations from proud Jews all over the world. The only problem is that at takeoff, the ship was unable to leave the launching pad, and an investigation revealed the reason. It was because of the weight of all the donor plaques. It just couldn't get off the ground. Good, right? Okay. The joke, though, has kind of a serious message. The Jewish people recognize the importance of acknowledging generosity. On the whole, honoring donors is definitely appropriate because of gratitude and also because people who do a mitzvah are worthy of honor. And I would add also that when we recognize donors, we encourage other donors. Okay? All of which goes to say that Jews have been acknowledging donors forever. If you go to Beit She'an in the Galilee, you will find in the Agora, which is the marketplace with all the little buildings there, that there are a number of them with mosaic floors that have the name of the person who donated the money to make the mosaic. So it goes 2,000 years back. However, there's a difference between an organization recognizing donors and the donor going around boasting and talking about how much they gave. And that seems to be, I guess I would ask, why is that person doing that? Because it sounds like self-aggrandizement, or that they're looking for attention. Maybe they want to do the same thing, and that is encourage others. I gave this, will you give that? Sometimes that's the case. But we also know that there is value in Jewish tradition in giving from the heart. We know that from the portions at the end of Exodus when the Israelites are told to give for the tabernacle from their hearts. We also know that one of the highest forms of tzedakah, according to Rambam Maimonides, is to give anonymously. And that appears in his ladder of tzedakah. The bottom rung of which is to give grudgingly. I'll give you a quick recap. The seventh, when one gives less than they should, but does so cheerfully, meaning gives a lot less than they actually could. The sixth, when one gives directly to the poor when asked, so only when they're asked do they give. Number 5, when one gives directly to the poor without being asked. So you see somebody who looks like they need help, and you simply offer help. 4, donations when the recipient is aware of the donor's identity, but the donor still doesn't know the specific identity of the recipient. Happens often when we give to an organization, and we don't know exactly who our donation will go to. 3 is when donations when the donor is aware to whom the charity is being given, but the recipient is unaware of the source. 2, and this is about anonymity, giving assistance in such a way that the giver and recipient are unknown to each other. Communal funds administered by responsible people are in this category. And the highest form of tzedakah is to help sustain a person before they become impoverished, by offering a gift in a dignified manner, by extending a loan, by helping someone find employment, by teaching them a trade, or to help them establish themselves in business. And Jews have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years. In fact, one of the main things that organizations like JIAS, who is now working to help Ukrainian refugees and was helping Syrian refugees and Afghan refugees, and the Jewish Free Loan Society, their goals were, when new Jewish immigrants came, and now they work with all kinds of immigrants, was to help them establish themselves so that they did not have a need for tzedakah. So, I hope that answers that. Maimonides would be the first to tell you, however, that any form of tzedakah on that ladder still counts. It's just that from a musar perspective, from a character perspective, some kinds of tzedakah are better than other kinds. But that doesn't change our obligation. If you give grudgingly, it counts. It's just not so nice. Okay. But we'll take it. That's right. If somebody needs it, we give it. We don't necessarily give out of love. That's where non-Jews often use the word charity, which comes from the word caritas in Latin, which means love. That's where we get the English word caring and the word charity. And in other religions, we give out of love. In Jewish tradition, we give because we need to make a better world. We need to make a just world. whether you like it or not. Okay. Are there any questions in the congregation besides accordion questions? It was a good question. Seth, did you remember yours?
No, but I do have one.
Okay.
Why have the laws of kashrut not modernized with the times?
Good idea.
Okay, so the question was, why haven't the laws of kashrut gotten modernized with the times? So some have. Depends what you mean by modernized. What are you thinking about?
Well, just the way you can store food now is a lot more sanitary, a lot cleaner, whether it's like...
Okay, so your question presumes that the laws of kashrut are actually about health, which I don't think they are. Okay, because our ancestors did not know from germs. They did not know from trichinosis. They didn't know any of that stuff, right? And you could get just as sick from bad beef or chicken as you could from, pork or whatever. So it wasn't about that. It was about a level of holiness, right? That's what kashrut is really about, is to distinguish ourselves so that we eat differently from other people, and an elevation of kind of how we eat, in that we don't eat just everything we want. That there are rules and boundaries around what we eat. The rabbis actually did sort of modernize the rules, and they appear, thank you for this, Seth, in this week's portion, Shmini. But only some of them do. What's in Shmini are only the animals that are okay to eat. Everything else comes from the rabbis, and that happens 1,000 years later. So boiling a kid or a calf in its mother's milk leads to separate dairy and meat, but that's not in the Torah. That's a modernization by the rabbis, or at least a new understanding, which leads, in the modern world, to separate dishes and separate dishwashers and separate cutlery and all those things. And so the law does evolve. However, I think what you may be getting at is something like this, that whereas the Torah and then later the rabbis, who also come up with the laws of slaughter, of kosher slaughter, were trying to create the most humane form of slaughter, that may not be the case anymore. The rabbis didn't think a lot, although they did have laws from Torah and rabbis to avoid cruelty to animals. They certainly did not imagine factory farms or caged in, hens who have this much room for their whole life to just lay eggs all the time, or any of the things that we have in factory farms. And so there are Jews out there who are creating a new category called ethical kashrut. I think I talked about it a bunch of years ago. It comes out of the conservative movement, and it deals not only with the traditional laws, which, if you take the general principle, are really about elevating and making holy the things that we eat and the way that we treat animals, that we can do holier. And so ethical kashrut deals with the treatment of the animals before they're slaughtered, whereas traditional kashrut does not really. And so there have been some changes. And as Reform Jews, I think many of us, if we observe kashrut at all, and it's not a requirement in our movement, have modified our kashrut to, one, fit the way we were brought up or our understanding of the laws, or to try and eat more ethically. And that may have to do with the treatment of animals. It may have to do with bal tashchit, trying not to waste, which the rabbis taught us but could never have imagined the amount of waste we create, and other things like that. So kashrut has modernized a little bit. Not in my neighborhood, but in the bigger Jewish world. Okay. Okay, Mom, you're going to have to wait till next month because your question is an entire theological year's course. So, but it's appreciated. So next time we will do that, or at Lunch and Learn, or at Torah Study. So thank you. Sorry, Mom. Any other questions here? It's just, Mom, because I have a chicken in the oven. That's all. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. I suppose, next month we'll be through Pesach already.
Oh,
so
gosh.
we won't have Pesach questions. But I will say this. Eat kitniot, everyone. Be Sephardic for Pesach.
Oh, can you repeat that for my mother?
I'll show her the response.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. I will do that. Huh? The moms are listening. My parents know from Kenya, but we'll work on your mom. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's turn to the middle of page 282 as we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Page 291. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us to find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. At this time, our Hartzion family extends its sympathies to our members and their families who have suffered a recent loss. Ray and Zena Havelock on the loss of their cousin, Sidney Linus. Jason, Karen, and Bruce Silzer on the loss of their mother and wife, Rhoda Silzer. Fran and Stephen Isaacs on the loss of their father and father-in-law, Sidney Feingold. Ronnie Batcher, Shelley and Samantha, Rick and David, Ari and Max on the loss of their husband, father and father-in-law, and grandfather, Aaron Batcher. We remember, too, those whose yahrzeits we observe this week. Tilly Backman, Deborah Brick, Frida Brunner, Minnie Blitzstein, Miriam Eklov, Murray Finkelman, Alexander Fisher, Ruth Freems, Nathan Harris, Estra Korn Orlowski, Sam Landau, Rose Pascal, Katie Rosen, Neil Rubenstein, Nancy Saslov, Mo Schlissel, Arthur Charles Weingarten, Samuel Stroh, Benjamin Super, Harry Usprich, Lou Wall, and Sarah Weinberg. And as we do each Shabbat, we remember some of the Jews of our adopted town of Michle, Czech Republic, who perished in the Shoah. Dr. Alfred Reichman, Nachman Reiner, Otto Reiner, Berta Reinerova, Ludwig Reitman, and Jadenka Reitmanova. And if anyone here or at home has the name of a loved one for Kaddish whose name I did not share, please say their name aloud wherever you are. We rise together as a community. We remember too at this time those members of our armed forces who have died fighting overseas, our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael who have died in so many wars, and all the innocent people of this world who have lost their lives to violence, conflict, the chaos of nature, hatred, or neglect, as together we pray. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divera chirute, ve'yamlich malchute, ve'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha briachu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav, u'ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen. Please be seated. At Temple Har Zion, we acknowledge that we are situated on traditional territories and treaty lands. The territories include the Wendat, Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. As Jews and as a community, may we always strive to fulfill our Jewish value of tzedek tirdof, the pursuit of justice in our society. We pray for healing in the communities and families of all who experienced residential schools, comfort for all those grieving, and strength for all of us to pursue reconciliation. I'd like now to call upon Seth Cole, a Vice President of Temple Har Zion. Where do you want Seth, Brina? Okay, come to my side. And he has some greetings and announcements.
On behalf of your Board of Directors, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Tomorrow at 9 a.m., Torah study via Zoom with Rabbi Stroh. Morning minyan services are held via Zoom Sundays at 9 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:15 a.m. Monday at noon, Rosh Chodesh on Division by Goldie Goldblum, Jewish Midwifery. Monday at 6:30 p.m., the Druze Community in Israel, co-sponsored with the UJA Sheens. For more information, please click on the link in this week's e-blast. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Book Club, The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. Thursday at noon, Lunch and Learn with Karen Weiss. For links and other events, please refer to our e-blast or go to harzion.ca. Check out our Facebook and Instagram for all the latest information. Please place your prayer book under your chair before you exit the sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Brina, for running the board tonight. I will also add, please sign up for our community second Seder. We would love to see everybody there. I could not imagine a third Pesach without everyone. So you'll find information in your e-blast and in Tuesday Topics probably, and anywhere you look. And please sign up and join us. We would love to have you there. Cantor will be there as well. Anything else? I think in 2 weeks, a week from tomorrow, we'll be welcoming people into the sanctuary, into the social hall for Torah study once again. So we've got our owl, we figured out how it works, and so we will give it a try. So please, we'd love to see you here. We will figure out breakfast as well. And we will conclude this evening with Yigdal, since Eleanor's not here. When the cat's away, you know. She'll be back next Shabbat, but we will conclude with Yigdal on page 324.
Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishta.
That's
Oh,
not
that's
our
not my
tune.
tune.
That's not our
see,
tune.
that's why we need
That
Eleanor.
is a tune, but,
it's
yeah.
not your tune. Yes. Okay, so you started.
Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimsa v'heinei tel mitziuto echad v'ein yachid keyichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf v'ein o guf lo narok elav kedushato kadmon l'chol davar asher nivra rishon v'ein reshit le'reshito hino adon olam lechol notzar yoreh gedulato malchuto shefa nevuato netano el anshe segulato v'tifarto lo kam b'Yisrael k'Moshe navi u'mabit et emunato Torat emet natan le'amo el hayad nevi'o neman beito lo yachalifa el ve'lo yamir dato le'olamim lezulato tzofeh v'yodea zitarenu mabit l'sof davar b'kadmato gomel le'ish chesed k'mivalo noten l'rashara perishato yishlach l'ket yamim b'dut olam kol chai v'yeshakir yeshuato chaye olam nata betochenu baruch adei ad shem tehilato chaye olam nata betochenu baruch adei ad shem tehilato. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.